Hello everybody, it's a beautiful winter's day here in Somerset. It's been very wet the last few days and parts of the levels are flooded, but it's not too bad here along the canal. Just to let you know how my brain works, I had a really vivid nightmare last night in which I was chased down the street, kind of medieval street with people with pitchforks and burning torches, just like something out of the old Frankenstein movies. And the reason for that was that I'd been stealing cigarettes from the bar in the pub, which is really bizarre because I gave up smoking in February of 2016. But anyway, that thought led to the words ashtray in my mind, which led to the words ash tree. And so here we have some young ash that are absolutely dripping in seed. I don't know how well you can see that. Let's move in a little closer. They're just absolutely dripping in seed, most of which would be viable should you want to just grab a handful and take them home. So yeah, which is what I've done in the past. And so what I will be looking at for the rest of this video is one of my ash fusion projects. As I just said, the levels are flooded. There's one of our alternate walking routes. Let me just zoom in a little bit. As you can see for yourself, water everywhere. We won't be going that way for a little while, probably till early spring, I shouldn't imagine, but never mind, plenty of other places to go. Okay, so as I said in my sort of rambling introduction along the canal, I'm going to do a bit of work on these ash fusion trees that I'm doing completely from seed and from scratch. And as you can see, this pair have, well, they've completely gone dormant now. This one I'm just going to leave as it is. A lot of the trees haven't actually grown up to the top of the rock yet, so give it another year, or at least until next summer I can start pulling the new growth in to grip the rock. This one is one that I'm going to work on today. Somebody's commented that it looks a lot like a bush growing out of an old shoe, and I can kind of see that, but hopefully in a few years time it won't look like that. Watch the original videos of this, you'll know there was 3 of them. If you haven't, there'll be a link to the playlist in the end screen so you can go back and have a look. This one has had a little bit more shelter perhaps in the lee of the house, the bench in front of it. Some of the trees have gone quite dormant, others are basically still think it's early autumn, they're just beginning to yellow up. So I'm not going to do anything with this one either. And again, assuming I still use this form, a lot of the trees haven't grown tall enough to reach the top yet, so again, that's something to work on next year. Okay, so here we go. Clear out some of the old leaves and things. I'm going to remove some of this tape. In fact, probably going to end up removing most of it. I don't want it to trap moisture and allow rot, as it were. But I think these lower pieces I'm going to leave as they are. I don't think they're going to be much of an issue. If you saw the original videos for this, you'll know my reason for doing it is because I've tried fusion root over rock projects with more advanced trees, maybe 2 or 3 years old, and they didn't have the flexibility or the movement to get in really close to the rocks, and keeping them close to the rocks, well, that was a trick to itself. As I say, I hadn't actually thought of this rock as looking like a shoe, but since whoever it was who commented spotted that it looks a bit like a child's shoe, I haven't really been able to stop looking at it and seeing a shoe. But doesn't matter, I can live with that. So I put a piece of wire over as well, and a piece of an old brick, just to push this tree down into this hollow here a little more, and that seems to be doing the trick. I'm going to leave that in place and squash the wire down a bit more, and that just keeps it in tight. And what I really want to do is to bring a couple of these taller ones down and across to meet in the middle, and adhere to the rock. I'd wondered about using a bit of epoxy resin, but I've no idea whether that would harm the trees or not, and I don't want to experiment on these particular trees only to find that yes, it would kill them, because that would be quite the disappointment. But these trees I shall want to move over the edge of the rock, obviously, so that they look like the trees were sitting on the rock. And has since grown over and down rather than up and over. So it's going to be a question of using some bits of wire, I think, to try and persuade some of these taller trees just to come into a position where they can sit over winter. I could wire them all individually, but then they'd all have to be unwired in the spring, which would likely defeat the object. I think they'd probably just spring back up anyway. So, as before, I'm going to make a little hook under this lip of the pot, and I'm hoping that I can just grab a bunch of the longer ones at least and pull them down over the top of the rock, and then with this hook on this side under there, I'll hold those quite nicely in place, especially when I press the wire down. That's better. That's moved them quite nicely. Now some of these others can tuck in underneath, and it doesn't matter if they're actually flat, because I can actually use a side bud budding off to grow upwards into a trunk if needs be. But I'm just kind of threading some of these shorter ones in as well, and I'm going to put another piece of wire. This is just pieces of wire I've used before on other projects, and I've unwired from the trees. So again, I put a hook in the end. This looks a little bit long, and I haven't brought my wire cutters with me, which is a little bit annoying, but never mind. Okay, so these I'm going to squish down in the opposite direction, making sure they're coming down over the top of the rock, and then I can squish that piece under the rim of the pot like so, and then to ensure it's holding tightly, I squish it down, and those for the most part now are lying flat across the rock, and then I can gather some of these up into the spring, and that'll be the basis of the trunk. I'm going to try and bend that one down and under that. While it's young and flexible, I should be able to get away with it. And that's under that piece of wire as well now. As I say, some of these others will then need to be tucked in, some may be left growing out in this way as a kind of sacrifice branch maybe, but then a side piece, a side shoot can be used for the upright portion. So hopefully you can see what I'm trying to do there. These will grow up taller and will tie in as well. Let's clear off some of this detritus. I need to put a piece there, I think, just to squish those down a little more. I think it's really important that I get them close into the rock at this point if I want them to stay looking like they've grown down the rock, as opposed, as I say, to growing up and over. So again, pushing it under, down, anchor the wire under the lip, which isn't easy when you've not cut it to the right size. That's better. Okay, and by squishing down, that's holding those quite firmly in place. So I hope you can see now that these will become the family of roots leading up to where the tree will sit on the top. Quick 360. If you're out and about on your travels and you see an ash tree laden with seed, grab yourself a handful, put them somewhere cold where they can catch the frost, sow them. Make sure you put something over the top to keep mice and things from eating them. Squirrels, they will be after them if they smell them. And what you'll find is that most of them will germinate, and you could try your own little fusion project or a forest project, or just try some ash trees as bonsai. Got to be worth a go. So, thank you all for watching. Please do take care of yourselves. Stay safe.